Hello, welcome to the Joe Cortez Show here in Las Vegas, Nevada, the entertainment and the sports capital of the world. Well, today we have a special guest, but I want to welcome again my co-host, Shelly Stevens. Hi, Shelly, back again, the beautiful Shelly Stevens. And my host today, my guest today, none other than Joe Campos. Joe Campos and I go back about 20 years already.
At least.
And Joe Campos is the Honorary Consul of South Korea.
Yes, sir.
Can you tell us a little bit more titles that you have? I know you have a bunch of titles. That's one of them.
Certainly. So I'm currently representing the Republic of Korea. I often remind everyone that's South Korea. And I serve as their Honorary Consul. I've been doing so for the past 4.5 years. In the state of Nevada currently, all of us Honorary Consuls are members of the Nevada Consular Corps, which is a 27-year-old organization that was structured and organized specifically to host all of the member countries that belong to the Consular Corps. There are a total of 28 from all continents around the world. We have honorary consuls and consul generals from the continent of Africa, in the Middle East, Europe, Asia, Latin America, and we currently are adding Ireland and Guatemala to our consular corps. And our mission is essentially to promote trade and commerce and cultural relations between the United States and Nevada in particular and the rest of the world. We are all accredited by the U.S. State Department and by the host countries that have sponsored our consular corps membership. The Consular Corps itself, I also am the dean, which is basically the chairman of the board of all the host countries. So we are in the process right now of launching a new initiative. It's called the Sports and Entertainment Diplomacy Initiative. The U.S. State Department has had a sports diplomacy initiative for probably the better part of 50 years. Going back, predating, back to when Richard Nixon was president, and they went to China. He and Henry Kissinger went, and they called it at the time the Ping Pong Initiative. Right. So that's essentially what the Nevada Consular Corps does, and its mandate. And we're just honored to be, on your show today.
Well, out of all the countries in the world, how did you end up being that for Korea?
I get that question all the time because I always say I look Korean, don't I? But in actuality, they do call me Korea Joe here in Koreatown.
I love it.
There are approximately 35,000 Korean Americans that reside in Las Vegas. Mm-hmm. It's a very active, very, I think, well accepted community here. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Just go around town. We often say that Korea anchors the Strip because if you look at Allegiant Stadium, that big screen is Samsung. Mm. And then you go down to the other end of the Strip, which is basically downtown Fremont Street experience. Mm-hmm. And that canopy is lit by LG Electronics.
Wow.
And then all the cars, the most popular car is the Hyundai and mm-hmm. Kias, mm-hmm. All Korean made. But truth is that I was approached about 5 years ago by the Korean government because the former honorary consul was a gentleman named Pat Hickey. He's a former assemblyman here in Nevada. Yeah. And Pat is married to a Korean woman named Shen, and he had been honorary consul for 10 years. And he was ready to retire, hang up his gloves, so to speak. Yeah. And when he retired, he said, I couldn't think of a better person. And I said, well, why me? Because there are so many Koreans. Well, as it turns out, the Koreans, they absolutely revere veterans and veterans of the Korean War. I had 2 uncles that served honorably and distinguished career in the military. Oh, okay. So that, along with my relationships with the Korean companies that I did a lot of business with, just opened up the opportunity.
Great. Wow. I'm so happy to meet you because my husband and I, we've been performing all over the world for a long time now, especially we were doing cruise ships for 23 years. And we also lived in Japan for 10 years, and every time we had to renew our visa in Japan, they would send us to Korea because it was so close. So we got to spend a couple days there and got to know all the stores, where to shop, where to eat, and all that good stuff. So I always had this relationship with Koreans as well. And then, of course, when the song Open Gangnam Style came out, of course, we had to learn that on the ship. So I got to sing in Korean, and that was exciting. And everybody was like, how can you pronounce the words? And I'm like, because I listen very carefully and I write down what I hear, not what you're saying. I'm writing down how I would spell it phonetically, and that's why I learned how to speak and sing in Korean. So it's so interesting.
That's great.
So you and I met a while back. Your brother James was also involved in the political arena when we met about 20 years ago. And you and your brother have really done a lot for the community. You've done a lot of good things. Now, have you thought about running for kind of political position in the near future?
Actually, at one point in time, I was approached by a group of business people that had asked me if I wanted to run for Congress, but truthfully, it never crossed my mind. Yeah. I enjoy being in the private sector. Yeah. I enjoy public service in the capacity that I currently serve in.
Yeah. You do a very good job. We have a lunch once a month with Joe Brown, the first Wednesday of every month. And it's coming first Wednesday, which will be, I believe, 2 weeks from now. Byram, the boxing promoter, will be there, but he'll be the guest speaker. We're going to be there. A lot of boxing people will be there because you all know, when they say the boxing capital of the world is for a reason, why they measure, because we had all the big fights here. That was the way it was from the beginning. That's when all the casinos came in. The only sport here was boxing. They were the leaders into the arena of Las Vegas. So tell us, what do you see in the horizon? What do you have in the horizon for sports and entertainment?
Well, as President Trump recently said on March the 7th, when he signed an executive order mandating all federal agencies to coordinate, create a task force, which he himself is going to chair, which is very interesting, amongst all the other things that President Trump does. It's for the FIFA World Cup in 2026. And this is called the decade of mega sports events in the United States because we are hosting the World Cup. This year in 2025, there's another FIFA tournament in North America, but the one next year certainly is going to attract, they're estimating over 10 million people from overseas. And international sports tourism is the big focal point for whether it's the Convention Authority, the Resort Corridor, the Governor's Office of Economic Development. Everybody is very focused on how we can participate because they're going to be playing 9 games for the World Cup in Los Angeles. That's a total of 18 teams that will be coming through the region.
Mm-hmm. And that's 2028?
And that's 2026.
26, up to a year from now, okay.
And then the reason they're calling it the decade of mega sporting events is because we are also hosting an international rugby event. That'll be more in Las Vegas, though. Okay. And the Australian government is really behind that, along with help from UFC, because they have a partnership. Turns out they have the exact same demographic of fan. The fan base is precisely the same. It's a perfect match. Right. So they're coordinating on that. Also, of course, the LA Olympics in 2028. And since we're so close, we can be a hub city to take the overflow for people coming to train. Mm-hmm. Then, of course, I'll jump just to 2032 because that's where Park City, Utah is hosting the Winter Olympics. And there are a whole host of international tournaments in between there that are all going to attract millions of people.
I mean, in Las Vegas, there's always the name out there. Everybody around the whole world knows Las Vegas. The name is out there. We don't have to try to sell it. It's been sold years ago. I think it's to get the attention of different leaders in different countries, different communities, different groups to get everything together, and you're going to be part of that.
Yeah, the Nevada Consular Corps, what we're doing now is we're trying to coordinate all these different efforts because even the NFL, and sort of an interesting side note to your earlier question, when I first became Honorary Consul of South Korea before the deanship was offered, one of the first things I wanted to do was reach out to prominent Korean Americans. Mm. And first on my list was Sandra Douglas Morgan from the Raiders, right, because her mom is 100% Korean. Right. Sandra speaks a little Korean. She understands a little bit.
Yeah, she was a boxing commissioner one time.
That's amazing, right? Talk about women leaders in sports.
And her husband was a football player.
That's crazy. Yeah, and I guess that's when they met, right? They first met.
Exactly.
But we have other very prominent Korean Americans like Patricia Lee, the Supreme Court Justice.
Right.
Sheriff Kevin McMahill, it turns out, he served as a MP military police in Korea in the DMZ, in the demilitarized zone.
Yeah.
So we have good connectivity with him and the law enforcement community. But I think that more broadly speaking, when you're talking about on our consular corps, we have the UK, Ireland, France, Germany, Italy. All these countries are so into a wide range of sports.
Yes.
That when you talk about Vegas, boxing really was the start of making us a global brand.
Right.
And I pay tribute to boxing, and that's why I personally think, Joe, that you would be an outstanding ambassador at large for the Sports and Diplomacy Initiative that we're launching with the state of Nevada, because you personify that, that claim that we have. I will say, though, that in addition to boxing and being recognized as the global capital of that sport, in order to really claim the title of being the sports and entertainment capital of the world, if we really are going to fulfill that role in that tagline, I think we need to. We'll ultimately get NBA and we'll get baseball.
Yeah.
But we need soccer, because professional men's and women's soccer, it's not only the fastest growing sport, it's the most popular in the world. Over 4.5 billion fans around the world. And that's where the market is for Las Vegas.
Right.
The Gulf State region, they're trying to attract sports tourists as well. So we have to compete, but we have to have that title of having, once we get soccer in place as well as the other two sports, we can really claim that we are the world's epicenter.
Let me ask you a question. Something that hardly nobody ever thinks about, nobody talks about it. I'm going to talk about it today. Horse racing.
Yes.
How come they don't have horse racing in Las Vegas, in Nevada? Is it because of the casinos?
Yes, it's partly that, but I think that I know there are equestrian centers in Las Vegas. And the truth is that for those sports that require climatized, arenas and so forth, right, we could build that infrastructure. The outdoor sports that we can conduct here in the state, they're untapped.
Yeah,
and that being one of them.
Yeah, but one of the reasons, from what I understand, is because the heat. We used to have even dog racing back in the days, back in the 50s.
Yes.
We had dog racing, but they did away with that because they said it was too hot. But we could build a facility, enclosed facility, to have either horse racing or dog racing. But I know the casinos are going to be an uphill battle with the casinos, because they're not going to want anybody to compete with the gambling. Because, with horse racing is a lot of gambling, a lot of betting.
True, but I think now that we're also, in part thanks to Governor Brian Sandoval, when he was the former head of the Gaming Commission.
Right.
He instituted online betting regulations, and Nevada now is the gold standard. So e-wagering on any sport, I mean, we're the gold standard in terms of the regulatory piece,
right,
for the rest of the jurisdictions. So we also have that element. UNLV just set up a Sports Innovation Institute where they have sports medicine, AI, broadcasting, 15 pillars of excellence.
Right.
So I think the future, Nevada can really be all things to all sports, ultimately.
No question about it. Now with AI that's out there, it's just somebody, because the entertainment capital is really looking at that. There's a little, some of the Hollywood people are a little bit upset that we got AI, because that's taken away from what they're doing. But, it's something new. Times are changing,
They are.
I mean, they're going to 50 years from now, it'll be something else. But right now, we got to focus on what's in front of us.
Yes. It's a new era. It's the digital era, and yet sports and performance on the field of play, that never changes. It's the most exciting, most interesting content, for broadcasters around the world. It's all about sports and that interactivity that you have. And gaming, interestingly, you can be in T-Mobile Arena, and you can be on your app, and you can be placing a bet on whether the guy that has the puck is ready to shoot it in the moment. In a nanosecond, you can issue your bet, right? It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And Sandra Douglas Morgan was talking about how they use AI to enhance the viewer experience at the stadium,
Right.
and provide more personalized service to the fan base. So it's incredible what's happening in Las Vegas in terms of taking all the hospitality knowledge that we have and leveraging that and giving the guest and the fan experience, enhancing it tenfold. And AI is driving a lot of that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I love the idea of this town becoming like you were talking about, a sports and entertainment that we could mix together somehow. Because, before, my husband and I were originally from Philadelphia. I was born in Jersey, and, I never really had any interest in sports until I met my husband. I mean, I was a cheerleader now in school, in high school and college, but I had no idea what I was cheering for. I just yay when everybody else said yay and shake the pom-poms. That was all I wanted to do. I had no idea what was going on in the game. But now that I'm here in Vegas, I'm starting to learn more because my husband, he loves sports, and he really loves boxing. So he's been telling me all these years about boxing, and when we first met Joe, he just freaked out, and I had no idea why. And he's like, I told you a million times it's Joe Cortez. And I'm like, okay, yeah, you did. Who's Joe Cortez? And then he explained it to me, and then after we met, and then we all became like family, and then I start watching all on YouTube, I'm looking at all his fights. Every day my husband will pull up a fight with Joe. So I'm ready for you guys to get this thing going with the sports and entertainment capital of the world, because now I'm into both of them. So I'm looking forward to that.
That's great.
Joe, let me ask you another question. Now that you're here in Las Vegas, you're doing this fantastic job. You attend these meetings we have. You came from a meeting today with the council, the commissioners.
Yes.
How did that go?
Very well. There's a great interest in making sure that Nevada does not fall behind on this incredible opportunity that we have to leverage our global brand, our name of Las Vegas, and to attract sports tourism and sports tourists to our region versus all the other jurisdictions they could go to.
Right.
And how to diversify our economy in that way, because as mentioned earlier, like UNLV has these 15 pillars of excellence that cover all aspects, even sports management, right, as a business. Sports itself is a $500 billion a year industry globally. You have countries like Australia that sports diplomacy actually drives their entire foreign policy focus. They have trade and commerce, and they have geopolitical, and security relationships. But Australia was just out here with UFC in February at UNLV at a conference. It was the Indo-Pacific Summit that they hosted, and the government announced they were spending over the next 5 years $500 million on promoting rugby as a national sport, throughout the Indo-Pacific region, and socializing it, promoting it in the United States to grow the fan base.
Right.
But it all goes back to where sports is something where it's a unifying activity, right? It's the opposite of war, because you have competitiveness and you have rules-based, games and so forth. So
Yeah, which I think is good. What we're doing with entertainment and sports is fantastic. I look at Las Vegas. It's been developed. I've been here 34 years. And I can tell you right now, for what I've seen, the way this town has developed, it's unbelievable. And it's just like every year something new's coming out. I mean, when I got here, we didn't have football here. And now we got the Raiders here. And now talking about the Oakland A's, they're going to be here next 2 years. They built the stadium out by near the Strip, across from the MGM Hotel. That was the Tropicana Hotel was there before. And that what's in the works that was happening with that lately, with the baseball. You don't think it was happening latest?
So there's an event next week, actually. The Vegas Chamber is hosting it next Thursday. And Mark Bedane, who was the original head of the Raiders, he's now going to lead the efforts for the A's. It's going to happen by purportedly by 2028.
2028.
Yes, that we'll be having games here. I think we should mention also, though, that it's thanks to teams and the success that the Golden Knights had in hockey.
Right.
And there again, they were a unifying force after 1 October, right? and the town coalesced and got behind the team as a way to release their grief, if you will, and to help heal the community, but also the WNBA, with the championship, and Nikki Fargas and the group over there at the Aces is incredible.
Yeah, well, we also got now the volleyball professional team coming up here in Vegas.
Yes, and so there's another thing at play here, and that is that Las Vegas is also taking a lead in gender equality in terms of the attractiveness of women's sports. And the sport of soccer, as we mentioned earlier, the most popular sport in the world. The actual professional women's soccer teams, the valuations of them are much better than the professional men's soccer teams, than the MLS teams. It's remarkable. And you go down the line, and there are huge opportunities. Interest in women's sports is at an all-time high. And we're at the epicenter of being able to, leverage all of that. And some of the thoughts and ideas that you have, Joe, are fascinating. But I do think it's going to take someone like yourself with a name, because you personify, sports in Las Vegas, synonymous with boxing and the capital of the world. I think we need a set of ambassadors. The other person that comes to mind is Andre Agassi because of his accomplishments.
Yeah, well, I felt like, next level in boxing. We call it next level because I think there's always room for improvement. I can see better things happening in boxing, but I would call it next level in boxing, which means we're going to bring others. We have boxing here. They have all these sexy bodies around the world, do fight all over the world, but being that this is the boxing capital of the world, we can have a next level of boxing, create our own league of boxing here in Nevada.
Yes.
I mean, we could create our own champions, be world champions, but out of Las Vegas, have a home base. The next level in boxing. That'd be the next improvement in boxing.
And using the UFC model to monetize off of that in terms of broadcasting.
Exactly.
Huge opportunity.
I think a good opportunity there. And there's so many, there's females in boxing now. I was watching the fight the other night here in person in Las Vegas at the Palms Hotel, and the girls stole the show. The championship fight, these girls, they fought like better than some of these men out there. I mean, they were slugging it out. I said, oh my God, what's going on here?
Great example is Mike Tyson's last fight.
Yeah.
The pre-fight with the women was 5 times better.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Remember that? Yeah, we were at your house watching it. I remember.
Yeah, it was so entertaining. Everybody was commenting on that,
That's
right?
right.
Laura Serrano, and you got that girl from Ireland, Katie.
That was amazing.
Good. That was. It was good.
And they already fought twice. They said they're going to have a third one. I mean, people will spend money on that fight. I remember people say, that's not going to happen in boxing, the MMA, whatnot. When they had Conor McGregor, when he fought Floyd Mayweather, I got a call. I was surprised to get a call from Conor McGregor's people. They say, Joe, Conor McGregor wants you to train him, get him ready for the Mayweather fight. I said, what do you mean train? Does he have a trainer? He has a trainer in MMA, but he wants you to train him on the rules of boxing. So when he's spotted in that ring, he wants you to be there with him. I move it around with him. I will correct him, anything he did wrong. Because it's a big fight with him and Mayweather.
That's right.
And they made a couple $100 million a piece for that fight, I said to myself, yeah, okay. So we signed a contract, and I had him for 5 weeks. I was training for 5 weeks. So I'm Dana White and Frank Fertitta was there at the training session. I said, hey guys, I've been retired from boxing already. You guys got me here doing this again. I was there every day, 5 days a week with the sparring session in there with Conor McGregor. It was just a great experience for me. But I can see a lot of things happening here in Vegas. The baseball coming up, the rugby would be another one. The women's soccer, that would be, unbelievable. So I want to see the horse racing come into Vegas too. I know people in the horse racing business that would love to come back to Las Vegas. I know it's an uphill battle, but I think it's doable.
It's something certainly to aim for, and I think what we need as a community, because of the economic impact and the impact on diversification of our economy here, the opportunity set is incredible, and I think in actuality, because we live in a water-stressed area, region of the country and of the world, actually, that is a limiting growth to economic trade and commerce and to diversification, because we don't have the water resources to have advanced manufacturing of certain kinds. So consequently, I look at sports and entertainment as being the one area where we can sort of overlap all these other disciplines and really have true economic impact like this city and this country has never seen.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I always believe that sports and entertainment somehow they connect. Like I said, we're from Philly, and back in the day, we used to play a lot of private parties and different affairs and functions and stuff. And somehow we met the coach of the Eagles. I think his name was Buddy Ryan. Maybe I'm not good with names. My husband knows names, but anyway, we met him at a party, and he started hiring us for any event that the Eagles had. So that was like my first real induction into sports and entertainment mixing together. So we need to do that here in Vegas for sure.
Well, talking about entertainers and sports, at the fights,
Yes.
one of my good friends, a couple of good friends, but one especially, it really comes to mind a lot, is Jack Nicholson. Jack Nicholson sit there. He's a big basketball fan with the Lakers, right?
Yes.
He used to love to come to the fights. Security called me, Mr. Cortez, Jack Nicholson's out there waiting for you. Can you come out there with him? I would sit down with Jack Nicholson before I did the main event. I would sit there, and he'd be asking me a kinds of questions about the fight. 2 or 3 hours every show that I did with Jack Nicholson. Every time he came to the fight, Joe had to be sitting next to him.
Oh.
And it was just amazing. Bruce Willis was another good friend. Loved boxing. Denzel Washington. I got a daughter, Cindy, is in a wheelchair from an auto accident. And I would tell you, Joe, I heard your daughter was in a car accident a couple of years back. I said, sure. I said, can you do me a favor? Can you talk to her? I dialed her phone. I gave him the phone. He walked away with my phone. He got for 15 minutes with my phone. I got home that night, and she said, Cindy said, Daddy, I couldn't believe Denzel Washington talked to me for 15 minutes. I think it was just like a couple of seconds. That guy's so kind-hearted, but he's the kind of people who always come to the fights. So sports and entertainers always is a beautiful match. I call it the 1-2 punch.
And now you have to add a third, maybe an uppercut, because the diplomatic community, sports diplomacy, and sports and entertainment diplomacy, that's the trifecta right there, really. That can help change the world, bring peace to the world.
Yeah.
And, ping pong diplomacy of the Nixon era. Even today, there's problems between India and Pakistan. And one of the ways they diffuse that is they have this cricket tournament. And it helps, sort of like relieve the tension.
Right.
Same thing between North and South Korea when Seoul, Korea hosted the Olympics. And the story goes on. But I do see, I think the Australian government, the Irish government, the British, the UK, they all feel the same way.
Yeah,
that sports is the unifier.
I think that would be a winner for all of us.
Yeah.
For everybody to have peace in the world.
Yes.
We need peace in the world right now. What's going on? I don't like what's going on. Peace would be great. Sports would bring everybody together.
Absolutely.
I've done some certain movies. I did the Rocky Balboa movie, and I did one with Eddie Murphy, I Spy, and one with Antonio Banderas, Woody Harrelson, played to the bone. And I go to these foreign countries, but I used to referee fight. I'd be in Germany, I'd be in Great Britain, I'd be in Japan, Korea, wherever I went to. They had my fights out there. They translated in their language. I said, wait a minute, Joe Cortez speaking Korean. They did all of that, but that brought the whole world together. One time I went to Indonesia, same thing, Indonesia. I got there, everybody knew me. I said, how you guys? We watch your television now. We're only boxing, but with the movies as well. So I think all of that brings all the countries together. We need peace.
Yes, and sports diplomacy we think is the right approach, the right avenue.
I think what we'll be doing, what you're doing now here in Las Vegas, and the next couple of months, and we'll be talking more seriously about getting our projects off the ground. I love the sports entertainment diplomacy program. I love that. I think we could do a lot with that. We could bring it to another level.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely, Joe.
I think we should bring the sumo wrestlers here too, because we were also like their entertainment too.
There's
back
room
in
for
Japan.
all sports, all stripes.
And then not forget the horse racing and the dog racing. That's another one that we got to work on too. And you viewers out there, I will tell you guys that it's so happy to have Joe Campos on the show today, and Shelly Stevens. You fans out there watching, it's always been a pleasure doing these shows. I've been doing these shows for over 10 years. I can tell you right now, I want you guys to share, like, and subscribe to the show, because without you guys out there, we're nobody. But our show is not about anything other than educating you guys what we're doing. That's why I brought Joe Campos out today. Educate you guys on what's the latest going on in the entertainment field, in the sports field, and what's happening here in the beautiful state of Nevada, especially here in Las Vegas, the entertainment and the sports capital of the world. With that said, my friends, Joe Campos, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you
Shelly,
for
thank
having
you
me.
again. You fans out there, keep your guards up at all times. Remember, guys, I'm fair, but I'm firm. Touch him up. God bless. See you next week.